I am Earl Bossard, a San Jose State University Planning Emeritus Professor who has lived in North Davis since 1986. I was a founding member of the Davis Advisory Bicycle Commission and its successors for 14 years. I am an avid bicyclist who has lived without having a car for more than 10 years, mostly while living or traveling outside the USA. This video contains photos I have taken around the world of examples of bikeways safely separated from both pedestrians and motor vehicles that might be helpful if undertaken in Davis. Munster, Germany is a university town much like Davis, but bigger, and has an excellent system of bikeways. I was most impressed by this bikeway, which has separate tracks for bicycles and sidewalks on either side protected by buffers. This would be a very great thing if they build the North Davis bike loop along the north side of Wild Horse and across Village Farms. This photo shows how the trees can make a somewhat effective barrier between the walking and biking areas. Here, traffic lights will stop automobiles so pedestrians and cyclists can safely cross the road. They have a button to activate that, something that may be very helpful as a cheaper way of crossing F and pole line in Davis. Houten is a new town in the Netherlands that is very bicycle friendly, and they have bicycle paths as the main circulation element throughout the town. Here, one of their main bike paths goes through a residential area and hedges which have breaks about every 6 houses to allow people from the sidewalk to cross over to the other side. On a trip to Budapest, I was very impressed with the way that they placed their bikeways and used bollards, colored pavement to separate them. They also put bike paths right along the fronts of shopping centers so that bicyclists didn't have to deal with the problems of vehicles turning into the shopping center. And I produced another YouTube video that you might want to see on that, with applications just for Davis. Here in Budapest, I was impressed by the low-cost barrier between the bikeway and the motorway. Here in Budapest, a colored bikeway is separated from the gray sidewalk as an inexpensive way that seems to work fairly well that we could do in Davis. This street in Seoul, Korea runs alongside a cleaned up stream, and this could be an example of an approach on the left side of this picture where the bikeway across Wild Horse and the Village Farms. East Coast Park Bikeway in Singapore has long been one of my worldwide favorite places to bicycle. And in much of it, they have separate paths for pedestrians and bicyclists. Singapore has been upgrading its excellent system of bike ped paths by separating pedestrian and bicycling areas here along a waterway, something that I hope that Davis will be doing. More than 10 years ago, I visited Sichuan, China, and was extremely impressed by the bikeway system which separated pedestrian walkways, bicycles, and roads. And I considered this very best one with good physical barriers between them. And I would hope that in places where there is space, that this approach could be used in Davis. Here is another bike ped separation in Sichuan that's more inexpensive to produce, takes less space, but isn't quite as effective because there isn't a physical barrier between the pedestrian walkway and the bike path. This photo from the NACDO Urban Bikeway Design Guide shows a very effective buffer. I would suggest that you could also use this sort of buffer, not with necessarily parking on the left, but as a travel lane. The very sad death of Julie Veris indicates that Davis has some problems. Interesting to note, this location where this happened had bushes impeding the view of where she was coming on. And the city, apparently, almost in the day afterward, cleared them all away.